Senator Audette, you had a question.
A question?
Sénateur, vous accepteriez une petite...
Senator, will you accept one teeny tiny question? Yes. Thank you very much. A very simple question. You mentioned that political parties, members of those parties, can vote from the age of 14? Are we talking about federal political parties for Canada or the provinces' parties? I'm not sure if it applies to all parties, but I can tell you that for the Liberal Party of Canada, yes, it's from the age of 14 that young people are able to get involved, to vote, and vote on policies. I think that the other political parties do the same thing, not just at the provincial level, but the national as well.
Thank you. Senator Boudreau, first of all, it's not all provinces. I know that the Saskatchewan Party, I believe, just changed their age to up it to 18 for party voting. But my question is about the Liberal Party convention that just happened this weekend. They had a resolution that passed, I think, quite handily and with at least some MP support that provided for a social media ban on children that are under the age of 16. So wouldn't it seem to be potentially going the other way on this if kids can't even have a social media account, yet we're expecting that the very day that they turn 16, they would be able to vote in a federal election, yet they wouldn't be allowed, potentially, if such a resolution goes forward with this government, as they've shown some willingness that it could, to provide a social media ban.
Senator Boudreau.
Thank you for the question. And I hadn't mentioned the Saskatchewan Party in my remarks. I had talked about the parties that I was aware that allowed youth to vote at 14. And I myself got involved with a political party at the age of 17, and started voting back then. All afternoon, I find it somewhat interesting. All afternoon we've been talking about children under 16. We talked about it when we talked about a social media ban, talking about cell phone bans, talking about AI earlier, talking about pornography just before this bill, all under the age of 16. Well, then, obviously, at 16, that means something happens, and they become more responsible, they become older, they become more aware. And I, for one, believe, and this is a personal opinion, and we're all entitled to our personal opinions, I believe that youth of 16 and 17 years old have the capacity to be informed, to get informed, to get involved, and to vote. And as I said, many political parties have allow it at as young an age as 14. But this bill is referring to the age of 16 and 17-year-olds. And I think it's time that Canada lead by example and allow these young adults to have a greater say. We always say we don't hear from them, or they say politicians aren't listening to them. Politicians aren't listening to them because they're not voting. I'm a former politician. I can say this. We tend to listen to those who vote. 16 and 17-year-olds aren't given that right. If we give them that right to vote, politicians will start listening to them and decisions will start happening.
Senator Batters.
Thank you. And yes, I did give a speech a few months ago, I believe, on this bill, and I spoke about how though I was an extremely politically engaged and interested teenager, I waited until I was 18 and went to university to take out my first party membership in the party that I joined, the Federal Progressive Conservative Party of Canada, in the free trade election. So, but what my point was, I guess, was it seems to have been, and I described it in my speech, that it's a bit of a scale to build up that cognition. So what I was trying to illustrate and ask your impression of, if right now there's no age, or perhaps the social media companies themselves perhaps put an age limit, but for the government to put a social media ban age of 16, if that actually applies, doesn't that indicate that the scale that the that the federal government is seeming to indicate is an appropriate one is the one where you start out doing this, and then you, over time, your cognition, that sort of thing, increases over time. And so while you might be able to have a social media account at age potentially 16, if that's what's actually changed to actually say that that same day you would then be just absolutely ready to engage in voting for, you know, one of the most important decisions that you potentially make in that time frame.
Senator Boudreau. Senator Boudreau.
Senator Boudreau, I just want to say that your speaking time has expired. Are you asking your colleagues to grant you more time to answer the question?
Est-ce que le consentement...
Is leave granted?
Allez-y, Senator Boudreau.
Please go ahead, Senator Boudreau.
Again, I thank the member for her question, but I guess I'll respectfully disagree with her point of view on this. You know, and I understand the point that if, but there's a big if there. This is a resolution that was passed at the Liberal Party convention. It doesn't mean it's going to become law or that the government is going to follow through with it. But there are other ways for youth to get involved. There are other ways for youth to form opinions. Again, you know, student politics. I started in student politics at the high school level, grade 9. Started getting involved in student politics. That led to partisan politics. It led to community involvement. It led to, you know, being active in my community and being a member of the Lions Club and later the Rotary Club. And you know, so there are different ways for youth to get involved and to be able to form an opinion. And as I said, I'm repeating myself, but if parties are already allowing, you know, 14 and 15 and 16 and 17-year-olds to get involved and to vote for the leader of the party, who then goes on to become prime minister, you know, if we let them vote for them at this level, why not let them vote at the next step, in the process? So I just firmly agree that believe that our youth are ready to take on this responsibility. They want this responsibility, and I think it would help, one, engage them more in politics, and I think it will force the hand of governments to listen to them more as well, because they will have a say in upcoming elections.